Today, our presenter will talk about his experience with making mistakes because he doesn't quite understand something fully. As business owners, you may find yourself constantly throwing yourselves into the mix because if we don't, who will? Get ready to walk away with a tool that provides a clear, actionable step to growing your business. Before we begin, I'll introduce our presenter, Mr. Jacob Powell. Small business owners often need to grow their company, not because of their business sense. Usually it's second to none. No, they struggle because they're caught up in everyday operations or need a clear next step to their business. Jacob and his team just don't focus on mere communications, ads, social media, or websites. They help owners identify a clear path to grow their business and build a system to attract and keep customers. Welcome, Jacob.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nick. I will share my screen here. All right. I think that should be all good. I think just to start, these are the most common marketing mistakes for small business owners that we have seen thus far. I do want to say that we have made these mistakes and we still do make these mistakes. And I think we're still uncovering a lot of these mistakes. So this is going to be a webinar where it's a journey with you guys, kind of in partnership and in walking side by side, if you will. But there are some things that we have learned and we'd love to share it with you so that you don't make those mistakes either. So first thing, agenda for today, I'm going to go through a list of a few assumptions that we're making as part of the participants here today. We'll look at the goal of today, the 5 common mistakes, the 5 guiding principles, and then a tool to help you avoid those mistakes. That's kind of what the day will look like. The first section is assumptions. So first off, I'm going to assume everyone here obviously is in the Saskatchewan tourism industry, primarily serving tourists or visitors. It is small business. This is very much small business focused. So I'm assuming that most of you here are at least under 20 employees. That might even be up. Around $100,000 to $750,000 in revenue. So again, different phase of business. You are the business, meaning that I'm talking to business owners who is as much of the business as they are themselves. You want to be in business for the next 5+ years. So this isn't something that you're taking on and hoping to get a quick turnaround or a quick flip. This is something you want to build and leave a legacy and make an impact. I'm going to assume you desire to improve your business. Participating in this webinar series, I think that's a safe assumption. And finally, a small business owner trying to take care of others. So what I mean by that is, as business owners, we're often in business not just to have an impact, but also to take care of our family, to support our family, to perhaps support our friends, and even support our team, our employees. Okay, with that in mind, with that kind of the context in which we're going to deliver this, here we go. So first off, the goal today is going from making the mistake when you know that that is a mistake. It's not that it's an unknown mistake. It's something where you're like, oh man, I wish I knew that. I wish I knew the actual answer to this question. So we're going to go from I wish I knew that to leading your business with confidence. So first question here is really, I think, kind of brings it all in. Why do we lack customers? So as small business owners, we're constantly in a battle of trying to fulfill our obligations, fulfill our promises that we've made to our customers, to our employees and our team, while simultaneously trying to grow our company. And often those two functions are at odds with one another. There's a tension. You can't possibly do both very well. So now, because of that, we want to lead and give you a little bit of a clear action plan. So first, how we're going to frame this is going through 5 common marketing mistakes of small businesses. And these 5 are neglecting our leadership duty. I'll give a brief overview. Neglecting our leadership duty, focusing on tactics over strategy, discrediting reach campaigns, inadequate use of distinctive assets. I'll explain what that all means in a moment. And of course, seeking silver bullets. So first marketing mistake, neglecting our leadership duty. So before we get into marketing, we must address a glaring fact we as small business owners cannot run from. There isn't much difference between you and your business. You are the business, which means you are the marketing department, the financial controller, the operations manager, and the HR department. This means you're the one who is completely responsible for everything your business does and doesn't do. The life we currently live is a result of the decisions we have made in the system we are currently living in. This means anything we talk about today about marketing and growth must be in relation to and aligned to your vision or what you want. Our marketing, particularly for small business owner marketing, starts with the vision we create. The guiding principle here is leadership matters most. Let me go through a quick exercise. Just try to frame this a little bit better. We're going to go through the ask why 5 times. So why are we here in this webinar? One could say, I want to avoid marketing mistakes for my business. Well, why do you want to do that? I want to build a successful business. Why? By having a successful business, I will support my family. Why? Because family is the most important thing to me. Okay, now we have a frame around which to build our marketing plan. Framing our entire marketing around your vision and reason for existence is how you build a successful organization without burning out. It is just you. You don't have a massive marketing team, or at least most of you don't. You might have a communication, social media person, but for most of you, you primarily do all the marketing functions. If we don't first take a status check of where we are and where we want to go, we'll find ourselves doing what we don't want to do and attempting to try to please everyone around us. We might find ourselves, and this I speak from experience, we might find ourselves in the back end of Facebook, praying and hoping that we select the right hashtag and copy and with the right picture to get the most amount of views for that algorithm. When we're unclear as to where we are and where we want to go, we're distracted, we're scattered, we're all over the place. So to start with leadership. And what is leadership? Leadership is influence. Leaders cast vision, and vision consists of core values, a purpose statement, and a mission. Core values, these are your guiding principles, the things you take with you regardless of the industry or company you're in. The purpose statement is your essence. It's like the guiding star. It's the thing you may never grasp. And then the mission is the hill at which you climb to try to touch that guiding star. So for us, we kind of see leadership as 2 primary functions. There's the vision and people. So what is your vision? Before you embark filling the needs of your customers, which is a marketing function, you must know where you are and where you want to go. Your vision, as seen here, consists of core values, a purpose statement, and a mission statement. I'll explain as to how you can practically apply this to your business in a moment. The second key question here, though, is who are the people you need to fulfill your vision for your company? Do you have the right people on the bus and the right seats? Which seats are missing? Chart the path to fill those seats if and when your goals are hit. There's a pithy quote, but I think it makes sense at this time. Sales covers up all sins. When we're trying to focus in on sales and marketing and trying to promote and get more customers to our business, we think that might solve the problem. When in reality, sometimes it's actually, okay, bringing a step back. Where are we right now? What's going on? Where do I want to go? Why do I feel this disconnect? Why do I feel this tension? Why I'm in this state of anxiety where I need to get more customers? What's not working? Our biggest mistake as small business owners is not aligning what we want with what we are doing. To help us on a path, here's a quick tool. So this is a Vision One pager. The Vision One pager is a worksheet that we'll provide to you at the end of the webinar. And it basically goes through a list of questions for your values and beliefs and exercise on your purpose statement and mission statement. So your values and beliefs, you start by imagining yourself at your own funeral, looking at, it's a little bit morbid, but bear with me. Imagine yourself at your own funeral. You can see everyone around you. You can see who's giving your eulogy speech. What is that person saying and who is saying? Those are your values. Those are the things that you hold dear. Those are the things that you want to be remembered by. Your purpose statement is again that guiding star. The purpose statement, what you want here is, what is the thing that you tell your grandmother, your friends about what it is that you do? What is what you're most proud of? That's your purpose statement. Finally, your mission statement. To do this, you kind of go through what we call a vivid description. So the exercise here is take 15, 20 minutes and write an article that you want to see your business, that's featuring your business, and write out that article. What does that article say about your business 10, 15 years from now? Make it vivid, make it real, make it imaginative. By doing that, you can slowly orientate all the things we're about to talk about in the marketing to try to fit what it is you actually want out of your company. Okay. Again, we'll provide that vision one-pager at the end of the webinar here. Okay, marketing mistake number 2. This is the tactics over strategy. So one of the bigger marketing mistakes small business owners fall prey to is putting tactics over strategy. So what are tactics? Tactics are your 4 Ps: price, place, distribution, promotion, or places, distribution, promotion, and product. In the most basic form, strategy is choosing what not to do. Your business requires a strategic plan to deliver a product or service to a group of people at the right place, the right price, at the right time. In other words, you need a strong strategy before implementing tactics. As small business owners, we're actually quite tactical. We get stuff done, they say. We don't sit for very long. We are generalists who do many things decently well, right? We gravitate towards projects where we can see an end fairly quickly, and we usually do those instead of the one that it's sort of ambiguous, right? This manifests into our marketing. I bet most people on our Zoom here, like me, when I first seen this and heard this, think of digital communication when you think of the word marketing. The problem with this is that these digital channels, so your Facebook, your Google, your YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all these, there's nothing wrong with them, but they are businesses, and they're trying to get as many small businesses to advertise on their platforms. They do so by building tools to help small business owners. So calendars, publish button, boost button, record a video, and then have it professionally edited, etc. For example, if Facebook tells you that you can increase your reach of this post by 1,000 people, if you boost it, would you do it? Of course, because Facebook will indeed provide you with 100 or 1,000 people to view your ad. However, this is an excellent sales tactic. Advertising on social media because you want to reach a certain group of people will result in lost resources if that group of people is not in line with the strategy. I get it. We need sales now. So to put out a fire, we put on a sale. Crazy deals, better price, etc. We say 50% off, on now, special here today. You see results, and then you try to do it again the next month. But perhaps it didn't go as well. You think to yourself, okay, let's try again, only this time, let's go harder. You do it again, and now you have entered the sales death race. The consequences of conducting tactics over strategy are immense. There's the profit margins decrease, profits plummet, there's confusing messaging because you're trying to capture someone right now who's looking to buy right now. There's advertising wastage, not a lot of innovation, etc. As small business owners, we cannot rely on the channels telling us what we want to hear when using their platforms. These channels are selling you a strategy, and it's their strategy. We first need to create our own. So the guiding principle here is start with strategy. And what is strategy? Strategy is choosing what not to do. It is a theory in which you use to grow your business. The key questions here are, what are my 1 to 2 marketing goals for the year? Now, you only need 1 to 2. There was a study actually on these big brands. It's called the Effies. It was a study over 50-year study looking at how the successful brands of the last 50 years, successful brand campaigns in the last 50 years, what did they do differently compared to the others? One of the things that came out was the fact that most of the brands that had a exponentially better campaign compared to their other people in their industry, other brands in their industry, had only 1 or 2 objectives. They're very, very clear as to what those are. Again, strategy is choosing what not to do. The second key question here is, what products and services will I be focused on this year? So again, harkens back to strategy is choosing what not to do. as small business owners, we really don't have the luxury to choose to try to advertise everything that we have in our service offering for a number of reasons: lack of resources, lack of time, also just the fact that advertising and marketing requires so much frequency, consistency. There's a level of 8 to 10 touch points every customer needs to have in order to change their behavior. We just don't have that money and resources to tell a customer about all the different things we have. We have to be a little bit more focused on what we want to offer our customer given a 12-month timeline. Third key question here is, who will I be targeting? So this is the target audience. Target audience is generated from looking at the market as a whole, segmenting that market into 3 to 5 different segments, and choosing the one that's the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. Targeting helps to align your messaging and your resources, capital, and time to a certain group that will provide a benefit. Now, fourth key question here is, what position will you take within the marketplace? So positioning is, for those who don't know, positioning is, what I mean by this is, it's what the position you've taken in the mind of the customer. It's how is your, what are the 3 words your customers think of when they think of you? Okay, so right now I could say Apple. There's 3 different words people might come up with. I could think of Saskatchewan tourism. There's a number of words that people will come up even here in this webinar. It can work both in the big brands and the small brands. But the key point is, what is it that you want your customers to know you by? Okay, so these are the 4 questions. It's very simple. By answering every single one of these questions, you do have a strategy. Now, if these the quality of these answers will determine the quality of your strategy. Okay, but if you can answer all 4 of these before jumping into any sort of tactic, you'll be even better off. Again, this is the marketing strategy one-pager. It's fairly simple. We'll also provide a draft and a few exercises that you can do on your own time for your business. But again, the point here is that you choose strategy first, then tactics. I make the mistake all the time. I tend to actually write first. I write a blog without actually having an outline, would be an example. And without having an outline, I'm all over the place. Similar to your marketing, similar to your business. First, have a strategy. Choose what not to do, and then choose what to do. Okay, marketing mistake number 3, discrediting reach campaigns. So this one's a tricky one, because there's as it relates to the strategy, reach campaigns are a very tactile function of marketing. Reach means promotion, right? Advertising. However, there's a few key guiding principles I think you would really benefit from that are not as common, or I wish I knew that kind of moments. Now, I know that for reach campaigns and advertising and marketing, especially for small business owners, we just don't have the money. Every dollar counts, every reach channel. So reach meaning channels that reach the masses. So TV, billboards, untargeted digital ads, untargeted YouTube ads are examples of reach type channels. Oftentimes those seem like a complete waste of time, because then how much waste is there, right? When you put your ad on, say, TV, how many people are watching that ad that will never buy your product? Those are the kind of questions we ask ourselves. We also think that marketing is a necessary evil. We need to invest into marketing so that people can come to our place of business. If they just came and experienced what we had to offer, they would stay and love us, right? That is a very common thought process for a lot of small business owners, including myself. However, reach campaigns tend to be the most cost-effective means of advertising. This is for 2 reasons. The closer your ad is to a customer near the buy phase, the more expensive the ad. So what I mean by this is, if a customer is willing to go to, let's say, a cafe, or is willing to go watch a show in the local theater, they're at the moment searching for which theaters to attend, right? They're in the market to buy right now. Whatever ad shows up means that it has to be tightly targeted. It means that they're for example, SEO, the keywords are properly orientated, and every single person that sees that ad is a buyer. Likewise, most of those channels offer that kind of advertising at top dollar. It's usually, depending on your industry, but you can go anywhere between $5 to $50 per ad view type of deal. So again, the closer your ad is to a customer near the buy phase, the more expensive the ad will be. If a customer has only a slightly positive perception of your brand, the cost to acquire a customer is greatly diminished. So what do I mean by that? If the customer has a preconceived notion of your brand, has already a relationship with your brand, or even just a thought or a memory, or if they think positively about your business, that cost of the ad near the buy phase is greatly diminished because they're going directly to you. So for example, I think I saw Persephone Theater in Saskatoon here. So if somebody is looking for a place to watch a show, there's really only one place in town. They type in Persephone Theater and then look at all the shows. They're not looking up shows in Saskatoon, right? Would be an example. Reach campaigns help bolster your brand as the brand to use when the need for the product or service arises. Reach campaigns will often reach the out-of-market customers and the ones that are not consciously looking to buy right now. So there are two guiding principles I want to take our time to go through here. There's the long and the short of it. There's guiding principle number one, and then there's also the 95-5 rule. I'll start with the long and short. Okay, so advertising best practices state that there are two buckets of advertising activities: brand building and sales activation. What is brand building activities? Brand building activities help build the mental structures in your customers' brains. They're usually highly emotional, salient, meaning memorable, and they usually don't have a call to action. And the goal of brand building activities is to become locally famous. On the flip side, you've got sales activation activities. They evoke the immediate response, and messages are typically highly logical compared to emotive. And the goal here is to harvest the popularity you created from brand building activities. The best brands use highly emotional messaging for brand building activities and highly logical messages for sales activation activities. The golden ratio here for your ad budget is a 60-40 split. Now, some nuance and caveats. So 60% of your ad budget should be dedicated to brand building type activities, and 40% should be dedicated to sales activation activities. That's typical. That's a general sense. So there might be, I think for the car industry, it's more like 50-50. Okay, so for different industries, there's a little bit of a pull and tug. For tourists, it's around that 60, tourism, it's around that 60-40 split. The chart here, again, sorry for all the advertising marketing lingo, but I think it's important. I think this core principle is very important to help you grow your business and also avoid making this mistake. So this chart here shows the sales activation activities in red and brand building activities in blue. It's measuring sales uplift over base over time. So there's a number of things going on here. First off, as small business owners, we tend to operate on 6-month timelines. Sometimes 1 month, sometimes it's week on week. We hardly ever do operate on a 12-month timeline, unless if we're first starting with leadership. So on the 6-month timeline, if we look up here, after 6 months, we say you abide by what I just proposed. Brand building, 60% of your ad budget in brand building activities and 40% in the sales activation activities. After 6 months, you go and measure, and then you contact me and you say, why the heck did you waste all my money? Sales activation activities is outperforming my brand building. I'm switching. Okay. The reality is, over time, that's when you see the result, right? So sales uplift over base. The sales activation activities, how it works is you put on a sales spike, they skyrocket, you see an instant return, you're happy, but then the sales stops. And just as quickly, the sales drop and back down to base. Whereas brand building activities, every single time you build a little bit of brand or do a little bit of brand building activities, again, reach type campaigns, you build a little bit of momentum, a little bit of momentum, a little bit of momentum, a little bit of momentum. And then to a point where the brand building activities are actually outperforming the sales activation. Now, a couple more caveats. I'm not proposing just do brand building activities. You need to have both. Brand building, again, remember, brand building gives you the opportunity to become locally famous, while sales activation activities actually captures that popularity. Okay, so you still need both. It still needs to be ebb and flow. Okay, now how does that relate to the 95-5 rule? So I think best way to illustrate this is through a bit of a story. So think of your last vacation. You're out of town, you're out on the town looking for a place to eat. You search restaurants near me and dozens of options come up. Now what? Your brain will first gravitate to what you know. If you spot a restaurant you've heard of, you are more likely to visit that restaurant. Now, was that the result of good SEO? Was that the result of good reviews, website, Google ads, or maybe that ad they placed 3 months ago? It's difficult to tell, but one thing for sure is that that business owner didn't know you needed a restaurant in that area until you did. You went from an out of market to an in-market buyer very quickly. And I'll explain those two terms. These elusive moments, the elusive moment between out of market, not looking to buy right now, to all of a sudden wanting to buy, is what we're talking about here. This is what the 95-5 rule talks about. So you can categorize your customers simply enough into two groups: out of market and in market. Potential buyers of the future. So out of market buyer is that 95%. 95% of potential cash is out of market. 5% of potential cash is in market. So you can think of it, again, think of your business right now. How many customers are willing to buy you, your product, your service, or how many will buy your product and service right now today? Well, not nearly as many as who might buy, or the amount of customers that might buy in the future. Potential buyers of the future is a lot more compared to your in-market buyers. So when we're talking about reach campaigns, in theory, reach the masses. They reach all out and in-market buyers. So when an out-of-market buyer looks to make a decision on the purchase, he's already been advertised to. He's already had a positive relationship with your brand. He already has a gut feeling. She already has a gut feeling. The goal here is for you to be in the hearts and the mind of future cash buyers. By slightly changing the minds of potential customers to think positively about your brand, the moment they go from out of market to in market, you already have a massive advantage over your competition, who is only focused on these guys, 20 accounts. So you can even think of this strategically. If most of your competition, or I'll use a better word, maybe most of your substitutes, because you may not see your competition as competition, you might see customers choose a staycation in Saskatchewan, or they might go to the Bahamas, for example. Everyone's focused here. Everyone's focused right in the in-market buyers, when there's actually not that many in-market buyers right now. There's a lot more out of market. And by you focusing on here, by the time they get into the in-market, you'll have a lot better chance, and you'll have that competitive advantage. Now, long and short plus the 95-5 rule. So use the sales activation activities for your in-market buyers. So your Google ads, your SEO, your Facebook retargeting. Take your budget, 100% of your budget, put 40% of it into this short term, and then put the remaining 60% into your brand building activities. Brand building activities, again, are their radio, their YouTube, their events, their sponsorships, etc. That's kind of a way to think about it. Don't discredit your reach campaigns. I've made the mistake of doing this, because when we're so focused on performance and we're so focused on the sales tactics and sales activities, you have to work twice as hard. There's no level of trust built. It's kind of like it's kind of like a relationship when you're dating somebody And you need to first, before you marry them, so I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, but before you actually marry somebody, you have to date a little bit. There has to be a level of trust. If I'm shooting for the stars and say, will you marry me on the first date? You're gonna have to work twice as hard to convince anyone of that decision. Similarly, look at that in your own business. Build the trust out, date a little bit, and then come and make that big ask. Okay, marketing mistake number 4, inadequate use of distinctive assets. So what do I mean by distinctive assets? Distinctive assets are what your brand owns. It's distinct to you, not distinctively different, but distinctly you. Owns is in quotation. I'm using quotations here as owns because you can't own these things, but you can own them in the customer's minds, and that's the point. Even if you have the copyright, if the customer doesn't think you own it and believes your competition does, the copyright does not matter. Your distinctive assets are critical and perhaps more valuable for small business owners than your other marketing efforts, and also compared to your larger competition. You don't have a large budget that most of the big guns have, so you can't out-invest these guys. To compete, to be effective, every touch point a customer has with your business requires some form of distinctive asset, something they can identify you and remember you by. So again, this is your logo, your color palette, sound, phrase, taglines, the personality. There's a number of others. Logo is your primary distinctive asset. All your secondary assets, those are kind of grouped together to have as much impact as your logo. Okay. So how does this look like practically? I want to kind of give you a little bit of a tool here. Practically speaking, the guiding principle is intentional touch points. Now, intentional touch points, also known as sales process. Okay. So what is the sales process? Sales process is documenting any interaction a customer has with your business. Okay, the key question here is, what is your sales process? What are the key metrics for each touch point? Does each touch point illustrate the values and beliefs you defined in your vision? So what is the sales process? Take time to articulate your process. Your business rises only as far as your leadership. And oftentimes, as business owners, as the leaders of the company, we're like, the sales process is like second nature. We just go. Take the time to document that so that you can train others, but then so that you can also improve that process. What are the key touch points, or what are the key metrics for each touch point? Just to come back, touch point is any interaction your customer has with your business. The key metrics are what it is you are evaluating. What's the purpose of this specific touch point? Finally, does each touch point illustrate the values and beliefs you defined in your vision? So going back to the guiding principle number 1, leadership matters most. Starting with values and beliefs, and then taking those and then instilling them into the company. So here's a great little exercise. This is called a touch point inventory. So I'll use an example that we had, a real example that we had for a client. It is an auto mechanic shop, but it kind of gives you a bit of a sense. I think everyone can kind of picture an auto mechanic shop. So their touch points had a website page, book a quote landing page, follow-up reminder, truck delivery, and a quote offering. Their values were honesty, they wanted to provide an exceptional experience, and then they're also expertise. Their criteria for the website page is that they wanted to the customer to actually click the link, book a landing page. They actually wanted to get a booking, follow-up reminder. They wanted to open up the email that they sent after they booked. Delivered, so that's when the truck comes into their shop, and they actually deliver the truck to their shop so that they can get it serviced. And finally, a quote offering, and then obviously the criteria there is, do they accept that quote? Now, when they go through this touch point inventory, they're looking at each one of these touch points and evaluating, does it coincide with the values we hold as a company? Now, this is really interesting because when we look at this is their self-evaluation. Their expertise, their value of expertise was not shown real well during the book a quote landing page or the follow-up reminder. Okay, and then here's the kicker. So the very next thing we looked at is, okay, what's the metric? What are we evaluating? What is the actual data? So 2% of the overall market clicked on this web page. It's 2% is fairly high. They have a lot the market's fairly substantial. So there's quite a few people in here. 25% actually booked. Of those 2%, 25% of them actually made a booking, and 75% actually opened that email. And then only 80% of those who booked showed up, but then 90% accepted that quote. So what do we need to do here? Well, what's interesting is that if we were to increase this booking, if you were to increase it a little bit more, maybe provide a little bit more of your expertise, you would have more people opening that, you would have more people getting sent an email, you'd have more trucks being delivered, and you know that you're going to keep that conversion ratio of 90%. Now, the open email is the other thing. If you're able to increase the open rate of that email, would more trucks be delivered to the shop? Okay. Now, we could evaluate just based on here, just based on the criteria, the metric, and kind of stone cold, this is what the business is. But again, harkening back to what we first we opened with, is you are the business. And in order for your business to be successful and for you to avoid burnout, you need to operate your business with the end in mind, with where you are now and where you want to go. So that's the touch point inventory. We'll provide you the touch point inventory exercise after this webinar as well. Okay, marketing mistake number 5. This is sort of a all-encompassing one. Nonetheless, it's a bit of a mentality one, I should say. So I'm the first to admit, I do this all the time. I work my butt off every single day, and I know there's certain things I need to do every single day in order to move the needle for my business. However, sometimes something comes up and there's an opportunity that's presented. And I think to myself, and if we're being honest, I think most of us do, I think to myself, hey, if I did this, maybe I don't have to do all of that. Maybe this will get me to where I want to go faster. The reality is that's often not the case, right? An honest man is, there's a quote, I forget where it's from, an honest man is never conned because he knows life is hard. For business owners, this stuff is difficult, but we enjoy it. We derive a lot of meaning from it, but it is difficult. What makes our life more difficult is when we're seeking these silver bullets, the thing that will pierce the problem and it just dissipates. Unfortunately, there really is no such thing. However, there is a way for us to combat the problems that arise, but also give us a little bit of structure to realize our success, to actually get to be successful. So there's a certain structure that I want to propose here that we are now using and we're helping others use as well. And it abides by all the principles you saw before, but also this principle of systematizing your marketing. Okay, so this concept is interesting because when we look at all the big businesses, we look at all the campaigns that we admire. So, you know, the Apples of the world, the Nike of the world, the Dove of the world. These are massive, massive companies that have dedicated a lot of time, resources into coming up with the perfect ad. We don't have that. So what can we do? How on earth do we compete? Okay. One of the ways in which we can compete and it becomes a competitive advantage is to systematize our marketing. We have to do that because we're the only ones doing the marketing. We're solely responsible for what happens in the marketing function. By systematizing your marketing, you're better able to essentially escape all those other mistakes. Now, what we have built here, this is the small business foundational blocks. This is your marketing system. It consists of these 8 blocks. Now, these blocks are in sequential order. So when you're going back and you're thinking about this webinar, hopefully later today, one thing you can take away from is when you're thinking about a marketing campaign, when you're thinking about a marketing tactic, first start with leadership, then gravitate to market, target, strategy, process, website, advertising, network. And I'm going to briefly touch on each one of these. The reason why there's a sequential order to things is because one builds off the other. That's why they're called foundational blocks. So leadership, again, we've already touched on that. Leadership is know where you are and where you want to go before tackling any marketing to fill that gap. Market is it's the block that provides the no BS view of exactly where your business stands in the marketplace, so you can make informed strategic decisions. Target is by focusing on a group strategically, you're better able to allocate your funds. So that's your target audience. Strategy, we talked about that. Strategy is choosing what not to do. It's the theory you hold. They'll provide a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Process is the sales process, and by documenting any interaction a customer has with your business, become intentional touch points. Website, capture leads are found and are distinct. You are in a better position to harvest the value you create. Advertising, every business reaches an inflection point. At this point, you can choose to advertise and achieve growth, or not advertise and stay exactly where you are. Those guiding principles of the long and short, the 95-5 rule, that fits into this block. Finally, network. Network block is about the influence and impact you have. There are many tools that can facilitate your influence at scale. So social media, email lists, etc. Now, I think probably the best course of action, the most effective thing to do next is this is the small business foundation blocks. This can be your marketing system. And we have built a tool where there's 50 yes, no, maybe questions that you can take right now. Or actually you can take after this webinar. We'll send you the link. By answering, it'd be about 8 minutes. A customized report will be sent to you, explaining which block you need to focus on. So maybe your leadership is good. Maybe leadership, you understand your vision, you understand your core values, you believe you've articulated those, and what's struggling is your market. So this tool will help shine light on that, but then also provide you with a guides to get that block up to snuff, if you will. Okay. So I think Nick will provide that link to you guys. Okay, thank you. That is all we have for today. I do very much appreciate the time that you've given. Thank you very much. Is there any questions?
So there is just one question. It says, what does SEO stand for? I can even answer that one. It stands for search engine optimization. But I'll pass it over to you, Jacob, of what does that mean and how does that work within maybe marketing?
Totally. Okay, so search engine optimization is, as Nick said, SEO. So how that works is, it's the old, some people can explain like this. It's the old yellow pages, if you're familiar with that. So it's when a need for a product and service arises, what do you search for? So for example, HVAC, say in this bitter cold right now that we're in, your furnace goes out. So you're typing in, if you don't have one in mind, if you don't have a furnace guy in mind, you're going to Google and you're typing in furnace guys near me, or furnace guys Saskatoon, or furnace guys Regina. So whatever website that shows up, typically that's your SEO. Now, SEO can be broken down into paid or organic. And paid is typically your digital ads. So that's your search engine marketing. So that's where you're actually paying for keywords. And then your organic is how you develop your website. So there's actually very simple things you can do to increase your likelihood of landing on the first page of Google as it pertains to your website. So there's a blog on our website that tells you exactly what to do. For this case, actually, it'd be very interesting because I'm assuming a lot of people at the webinar here today are in remote locations. And those remote locations potentially doesn't have a whole lot of competition for someone when someone searches a certain destination. So totally a great strategy to have, and it's actually quite easy to implement. A little bit of a long-winded answer, but just trying to cover all bases. What is your website? powellbd.com. I recently had a fairly big change in our company. I've been doing this kind of work for the last 4 or 5 years. I've started up a new company back in November, so we're actually putting together that website right now. But I do have like a bare bones website, powellbd.com. B as in Delta, B as in Beta, D as in Delta. There you go.
Perfect. Any other questions? Hey, it doesn't look like anything's coming in at the moment. So we'll just wrap up here. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Oh, one more. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We do appreciate your time with us. If I have to miss a future webinar, will a link be sent for the recording? Yes, so all of our webinars will be recorded. So if you do have to miss, or there's someone else that you want to see or have, watch the webinar, we do record them. They will be available from our website, typically about a week to 2 weeks after the fact. Our marketing department goes through and, does what they need to do. So all of our webinars are recorded. If it's been a week or two and you don't see anything, feel free to email us. Again, email us at training@tourismsas.com and we can provide that link for you. Another question for you, Jacob, that just came up. For starting off, is organic content sufficient to lead with?
For starting off, is organic content sufficient? No. Again, start with leadership. Start with what you want. Do you want to be, I don't know your business, and can't say their name, so I don't know your business, person who was asking. But start with where you are and where you want to go. Organic content often takes quite a bit of time to get up to a point where it's actually creating a significant impact. So I guess the long and short of it is your organic content should start now, but it's not sufficient to actually capture customers right now. By starting your organic content right now, expect a return 12, 24 months from now, because it just takes that long. So you kind of want a mixed bag, right? You want a mix of organic content, but also getting in front of customers in whichever way you can. And there's a whole bunch of ideas and different ways of doing that.
Perfect.
Yeah, it takes a while. I think she just said I've been doing it for 10 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Oh, could we have the slides sooner?
Sure.
That's something that we can here at Tourism Saskatchewan. When we work with our presenters, our facilitators, we kind of negotiate some of that, so we can take that into consideration for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think there will also be some resources that'll be sent out too, I think, right, Nick?
Yes, there will be. Yep, we do send out resources, again, typically a week afterwards. Once we get everything in, make sure everything looks good, then we do send everything out to everyone who was on the call today.
Perfect.